What we wanted to do with this study was, well aware of the challenges, we wanted to ask recipients of funding, okay, tell us about a good experience with the funder. When did funders make it easier for you as an organisation in that sort of context to receive funds and to do what you needed to do?
Life happens in communities. People live in their communities. People trust their communities. Communities are who is there when the professionals go home. I think that you can cut through a lot of the barriers that people have to addressing health issues when you work through community.
Community-based organizations know their communities better than anyone else. They're from those communities, they know what's affecting them, and they know even how to talk to them. They know how to get them in the first place. So funding them, especially in relation to HIV, makes it easier for them to reach them in the first place, mobilize them, refer them for services. And basically, they know what they need better than anyone else, and they know what to do in their communities.
Civil society has a role to play in the response to the HIV epidemic, that even if the health system was functioning perfectly, there'd still be a role for civil society to play. And I think being clear about that and having that clearly articulated really helps when you think about why am I funding community-based organisations.
There are many organizations out there by sex workers, organized in many different ways. It can be informal collectives, it can be huge regional networks. They're active at all levels if you know how to reach them, and if there can be a level of trust and level of accessibility of your funding opportunities. So sex worker groups may not necessarily speak English in many parts of the world, and some groups may not all be literate. So we have designed processes to really adapt our systems to the realities of the communities. So instead of written reports, some of our groups will do reports over Skype or phone, which we will then type out for them. We receive applications in many different languages. We also hold conversations with grantees in many different languages, and either we have the language support in our office or we get volunteer or professional translators to support us in those communications to really reach the communities where they're at and what works for them.
In the case of the Southern HIV Impact Fund, we formed a funder collaborative that provides a lot of on-the-ground support to grantees and a lot of real-time connections. The fund has staff that live in the communities where grantees are being funded, and additionally bring on consultants and use participatory grant review panels, and they really provide additional staff and additional capacity for the funders to be able to reach more deeply into communities.
Donors can put together like a 5-year funding, so it can be rolled over, and not a 1 year or a 9 months. It's very tedious to prepare a proposal, do a budget, do like a work plan, and sometimes, I'm not saying we don't have the capacity, but it's very time consuming.
Rather than saying you will receive a quarter of the money in month 1, the next quarter in month 4, and so on and so forth. They said, well, look, what disbursement schedule would you like? Do you need more money up front because you're buying more stuff at the beginning of the project and so on? So it's when the recipient organisations got to set their terms rather than having to fit with these very strict rules that the funding grant-making department had established and said all grants must behave in exactly the same way.
through the Rapid Response Fund, it's very important to ensure that they receive funds quite quickly when emergencies arise. The fund has been set up in a way that allows for that to happen. There are no committees or panels that take time to make decisions, so we can get money out very, very quickly within a 2-week period. Depending on the complexities of the application, we can get funding out within 2 days, in fact. So that speedy response to urgent situations is really critical to help civil society and LGBT organisations on the ground at the front line of the response to continue their daily important work.
We're available and accessible on WhatsApp, on Signal, on Facebook Messenger, to communicate and to really be able to exchange realities and views and questions and address concerns, you know, when grantee partners or when community groups have them, instead of it needing to fit within our bureaucracies and within our processes.
The people whose lives are at stake in an intervention are the people who should be directing that intervention. So we absolutely believe in local expertise and local ownership and guidance and control over what happens in development funding.
To ensure the sustainability and the financial sustainability of different organizations, especially when it comes to organizations, particularly Black-led organizations that are doing HIV work, it becomes continuously re-traumatizing and triggering to have to go and almost re-articulate or articulate your value as a human being to other people. It becomes a little disheartening and a bit traumatizing to like have to say, hey, this is what me and my community need to survive and to thrive and to have this level of equity in life that some people are just kind of afforded.
As a trans person, as a leader for a trans organization, we do not want to be funded for HIV alone. We have some social issues that we need to take care of first. Because if these issues are not being taken care, we will become HIV positive sometime because we're sex workers. And if the need is addressed that, okay, we're employed and we can be independent, we don't have to resort to sex work. So don't fund the end of the journey. I prefer if the funding can come from the beginning to empower us.
As communities evolve and as priorities evolve, it's going to be important for funding mechanisms and strategies to also evolve. Otherwise, they're going to do a disservice to the communities that we are wanting to provide resources for.